Think people go wild for free stuff? Wait till you see what happens when a $5 toaster hits the shelf. From shoppers drop-kicking each other over TVs to grandmas body-slamming strangers for shampoo. These are 49 of the most ridiculous Black Friday fights that went way too far. Trust me, after this, you'll never look at a shopping cart the same again. So hit that subscribe button before someone elbows you for it. And tell me in the comments, what's the dumbest thing you've ever seen people fight over? Because today, we're diving straight into the chaos of Black Friday madness. 1. At a Walmart in Ohio, two women started punching and pulling hair over the last PlayStation 2 like it was gold. One yelled that her grandson needed it, while the other shouted it was for her boyfriend's vintage collection. Their cart flipped during the struggle and spilled socks, batteries, and a frozen turkey across the floor. The crowd cheered when a security guard tried to break it up and slipped on the turkey. The women kept swinging until both wigs landed on the same shelf. Local news called it the most nostalgic brawl of the decade. 2. Inside a Target in Florida, two men got into a heated argument over who was next in the TV line. One claimed he'd been saving the spot since midnight, while the other said bathroom breaks didn't count. The shouting turned into shoving. Then one man threw a shopping basket like a frisbee. It missed and hit a passing Santa display. That collapse made a child cry, which fueled more yelling. Store security arrived, but both men tried to prove the TV was theirs by hugging it from opposite sides until the box tore in half like a wrestling trophy. 3. At a Best Buy in Texas, a woman hurled a bag of rice at an employee after he told her the battery discount was sold out. The bag exploded mid-air, covering everyone in grains. A man nearby slipped, fell into a display of Bluetooth speakers, and accidentally triggered a techno beat that played during the chaos. The woman screamed that she deserved compensation for emotional damage. Security caught her trying to scoop rice back into the bag as evidence. By the time police came, 3 shoppers were recording slow-motion rice fights for TikTok. It became an instant viral clip. 4. At a Kohl's in Illinois, an elderly couple pretended to faint to skip the checkout line. But things went wrong when the wife decided her performance was better and pushed her husband's shoulder mid-floor. He shouted that she ruined the timing and tried to trip her back up. They started wrestling near a rack of scarves, knocking down a mannequin in the process. When paramedics arrived, both stood up demanding their 40% discount. The crowd clapped, thinking it was a flash mob. The manager refused the discount and said, "Fainting or not, nobody gets a deal on chaos." 5. At Macy's in New York, a man dressed in camouflage thought he could sneak past the crowd unnoticed. Unfortunately, he ran straight into a revolving door and got trapped mid-spin. Shoppers shouted directions while another man outside tried to force the door open, causing both to start pushing against each other like a slow-motion sumo match. Security eventually stopped the door, freeing them both. The man yelled that his stealth training failed, and the other demanded compensation for emotional dizziness. Their brawl continued outside over who caused the jam, making it to TikTok under revolving door rumble. 6. At a Walmart in Michigan, a woman put on leather gloves and shoved a man out of the way to grab a $10 television. He stumbled into a blender display, breaking one on the floor. She yelled that she had coupons while waving the box like a trophy. Another shopper tried to record, which made her even angrier, so she swung the TV and nearly hit him. Police arrived to find her hiding behind a stack of cereal. When questioned, she said she was defending her right to affordable entertainment. The store banned her and her coupons for life. 7. At a Best Buy in California, 2 gamers fought over the last Kinect sensor. One grabbed the box, the other yanked it back, and someone screamed, "Fight for the future." In the struggle, one man pulled the fire alarm to clear the store, thinking he'd sneak the prize out. Instead, sprinklers went off, soaking everyone. People slipped and screamed as alarms echoed. Firefighters arrived to find the men still clutching the soaked box, arguing about who triggered the chaos. The store closed for cleanup while drenched shoppers filmed the aftermath. The headline the next day read, "Gamer Floods Best Buy." 8. At a Target in Georgia, a man hid inside a dressing room for 3 hours to ambush the electronics aisle when doors opened. When he finally rushed out, he tripped over a shoe rack and crashed into a wall of toasters. The boxes fell like dominoes, creating a wave of chaos that flattened another shopper. Security guards ran in, slipped on a toaster cord, and fell too. The man tried to crawl away with one toaster in each hand but was caught at the exit. He told police he was training for competitive shopping. The internet called him Toaster Man. 9. At a Kohl's in Pennsylvania, a woman turned her shopping cart into a weapon. She rammed it full speed into another woman, blocking her path to the makeup section. Lipsticks flew everywhere like confetti, and both women started grabbing handfuls off the floor. A mirror shattered as one threw a foundation bottle like a grenade. The fight ended only when an employee sprayed them with perfume samples to separate them. The police arrived to find glitter, broken glass, and 2 furious women claiming ownership of the same eyeliner. The news labeled it the Great Kohl's Cosmetics Collision. 10. At a Walmart in Alabama, a teenage boy challenged an employee to an arm wrestling match for the last Xbox. The crowd gathered, cheering as both strained on a checkout counter. When the employee won, the teen kicked the DVD shelf in rage, sending discs flying in a perfect X shape. He yelled that it was destiny and tried to grab one of the movies as a prize. Security stopped him, but shoppers clapped for his dedication. The police officer who wrote the report said it was the most dramatic loss he'd ever seen. The kid still demanded a rematch. 11. At a Best Buy in Florida, 2 men started arguing over the last discounted toaster. One punched a shelf of blenders in anger, shattering glass everywhere. A woman slipped on the broken pieces and fell into a rack of headphones, knocking them all down. Instead of helping, the man tried to grab a broken blender as compensation. Security tackled him before he could escape, and he yelled that the store owed him for emotional damage. The chaos spread so fast the fire alarm went off accidentally. Everyone blamed him, and the viral clip was titled, "The Blender Battle of Florida." 12. In a Walmart in Nevada, 2 shoppers fought over a PlayStation 5 that someone had hidden under a pile of clothes. One grabbed the box first, but the other yanked his hoodie so hard that both tumbled down an escalator. Security chased them as they rolled, still fighting for the console. When they hit the bottom, one man jumped into an open Uber screaming, "Drive!" The driver, confused, said there were 2 men and a PlayStation 5 wrestling in his backseat. Police stopped the car outside the mall, and the viral video was called The Great Escalator PS5 Escape. 13. At a Target in Ohio, a woman brought a taser for what she called self-defense shopping. When a man tried to cut the line for AirPods, she shocked him lightly on the arm. He screamed, grabbed her purse, and threw it toward the checkout. They started pushing each other, sending candy bars flying everywhere. Security pulled them apart, but both refused to leave without AirPods. The police said the devices were recovered but slightly burned. The woman shouted that she acted in the spirit of fairness. The footage got millions of views with the caption, "Don't tase me for tech." 14. At a Best Buy in Texas, a man dressed as Santa claimed he was spreading holiday cheer, but instead, he stuffed 5 TVs into his red sack. Another shopper caught him sneaking out and tried to block his path. The 2 wrestled in the parking lot while shouting "Merry Christmas" at each other. The man's fake beard fell off mid-fight, revealing his identity. Police tackled him as his hat rolled away. Officers said it was the first Santa arrest of the season. Local news titled it Saint Nick vs. Security. The Claus clobber children nearby just watched in silence. 15. At a Walmart in South Carolina, an elderly man threw his empty wheelchair at an employee after being told his senior discount had expired 2 minutes earlier. The wheelchair rolled across the floor, hit a stack of toasters, and caused a domino effect. The man shouted that time was a construct and demanded a new discount. When security tried to calm him down, he grabbed a plastic candy cane and waved it like a sword. The crowd recorded the moment and laughed when he tripped over the same wheelchair. He was fined for public disturbance and poor aim. 16. At a Target in Arizona, a man arrived with a megaphone yelling that discounts were a corporate lie. Other shoppers told him to quiet down, but he started calling them deal sheep. Someone tried to take his megaphone, and a tug-of-war began in the aisle. It ended when the battery fell out and rolled under a cart. Security moved in, but he refused to leave, declaring himself the voice of truth. The crowd booed, and one shopper threw popcorn at him. Police escorted him out as he screamed about freedom of pricing. The crowd applauded when the doors closed. 17. At a Best Buy in Illinois, a woman with a red pen began correcting price tags she thought were wrong. When an employee told her to stop, she yelled that she was performing public service. Another shopper made fun of her handwriting, and she poked him with her pen. He pushed back, and they both crashed into a printer display. Ink spilled everywhere, covering their clothes in blue stains. Security tried not to laugh while separating them. The woman demanded a gift card for emotional ink damage. The viral clip was titled, "The Grammar Fight Over Discounts." 18. At a Walmart in Oregon, a man pretended to have a seizure near the electronics section so people would rush to help. When the crowd gathered, he jumped up and yelled, "PS5's this way," while sprinting toward the consoles. Another shopper grabbed his shirt, and they wrestled in the aisle until security tackled both. The man claimed it was social experimentation, but the officers disagreed. His fake medical bracelet fell off, and the video spread online with millions of laughs. People called him the discount faker. The store later banned all dramatic performances during Black Friday events. 19. At a Kohl's in Missouri, two teenagers tried to pull off a distraction by doing a TikTok dance while their friend grabbed coats behind them. Mid-floss, one lost balance and fell into a clothing rack, knocking down another shopper. The friend panicked and ran, only to trip over the fallen coats. Security grabbed both as they argued whose dance moves ruined the plan. A woman shouted, "You call that choreography?" before slipping on a hanger herself. The clip went viral under the tag hashtag Black Friday Dance Fail. Police said no one was hurt except for their pride and social media accounts. 20. At a Macy's in Chicago, a woman wearing white gloves called Black Friday a formal event. When a man accidentally touched her cart, she slapped him across the face. He grabbed a scarf from a nearby rack and tried to defend himself, leading to a brief fashion duel. Shoppers circled them, cheering like it was a runway show. Security intervened when she raised a perfume bottle like a weapon. Both were escorted out as the crowd clapped. The news headline read, "Gloves came off, literally." She later said she only wanted elegance, not violence, in her shopping experience. 21. At a Walmart in Florida, a man swung a plastic lightsaber at another shopper during a Wii console shortage. He shouted that he was defending his place in line. The blade snapped on impact, and he started waving the broken handle like a stick. The other man grabbed a broom from a nearby display, and they clashed like Jedi of the discount aisle. People filmed the duel while chanting, "Use the force of savings." Security ended it when the broom broke the man's Santa hat. He was charged for disorderly conduct and became known online as the Discount Sith. 22. At a Best Buy in New Jersey, two men wrestled over a 4K television near the entrance. When one lost his grip, he grabbed a fire extinguisher and sprayed the other man and half the store in foam. Visibility vanished as people screamed and slipped on the wet floor. Employees tried to calm the chaos, but someone shouted "free snow" and started sliding through the mess. Police cleared the building, and 12 shoppers left covered in white foam. Local headlines called it the Great Foam War. The two men were banned from all store branches until the next Black Friday. 23. At a Target in Texas, a woman used her stroller like a battering ram to reach discounted diapers. She pushed past several customers, yelling that her baby couldn't wait. The cart slammed into a candy display, sending chocolate flying. A father stepped in to stop her, and she accidentally ran over his foot, sparking a shoving match. Security separated them while the woman kept shouting, "Sale or cry." The police arrived to confiscate the stroller as evidence. She told reporters she was driven by motherly instinct. The story trended nationwide under the tag, "Mom versus Candy Display." 24. At a Walmart in Ohio, a man brought a stopwatch to time the checkout line. When things slowed, he climbed onto a cart and began conducting shoppers like an orchestra. People clapped along until a customer behind him pushed the cart forward to make him stop. The cart rolled into a soda stack, bursting cans and spraying everyone nearby. The man yelled that he was keeping rhythm, not causing chaos. Security escorted him out while the crowd hummed a victory tune. The local paper called it, Black Friday Symphony Interrupted. He later uploaded his own version to YouTube. 25. At a Best Buy in California, a teenager hid over 50 televisions inside a fitting room, hoping to claim them all when prices dropped. When an employee opened the curtain, the teen tried to block the doorway with a stack of boxes, yelling that he was testing storage space. Another shopper joined the tugging match, and the mountain of boxes collapsed, burying them both. It took security 5 minutes to dig them out. The teenager explained he was conducting market research. He was banned for life, and the viral footage was nicknamed TV Avalanche at Best Buy. 26. At a Target in Georgia, a woman with a highlighter marked every deal she liked, including accidentally highlighting an employee's uniform. When the employee told her to stop, she poked his shoulder and shouted that he was now 20% off. A coworker laughed, which set her off, and she swung her clipboard like a sword. The man grabbed it back, and both fell into a rack of pajamas. Security dragged her away while she yelled about color-coding justice. The crowd cheered as the employee waved goodbye. The story hit Twitter with the caption, "Sale Highlight Showdown." 27. At a Walmart in Michigan, an old man threw his coffee thermos at an employee after his expired coupon was rejected. The cup burst open mid-air, splashing hot coffee on a security guard's badge, short-circuiting his radio. The guard shouted for backup, thinking it was an attack, and 2 more officers rushed in. They wrestled the man to the ground while he kept yelling that the coffee was decaffeinated. The crowd applauded when the guard stood up, still dripping. The man was charged with assault by beverage. The local headline called it the Great Caffeine Conflict. 28. At a Best Buy in Florida, a man wearing a Darth Vader helmet announced that the discount was strong with him. He held a toy lightsaber and demanded the manager honor his loyalty to the Empire. A shopper dressed as Spider-Man tried to mock him, and they began a fake duel that turned real when a punch landed. The helmet flew off, hitting a TV on display. Security tackled them both while the crowd chanted "crossover event." Police confiscated the mask and plastic sword. The news clip was titled, "The Empire Strikes Out." Fans called it canon. 29. At a Kohl's in Pennsylvania, a woman used a ruler to measure price tags, claiming precision mattered. When an employee laughed, she slapped the ruler against his hand. Another shopper intervened, and the ruler snapped in half, sparking a tug-of-war with the broken pieces. Lip gloss spilled onto the floor, and everyone slipped. Security arrived to find 3 people sitting in glitter. The woman shouted that she was testing corporate honesty. Management handed her a gift card to leave. Social media called it the Black Friday Science Fair. The store banned all rulers during future sales. 30. At a Walmart in Illinois, a teenager flew a small drone above the crowd to spot the best deals. When the drone clipped a ceiling fan, paper flyers and dust rained down like confetti. People started cheering until one man tried to catch the drone and missed, falling into a tower of microwaves. The teen ran to save his device, but security grabbed him mid-sprint. The FAA later fined him for reckless flight inside a public space. The clip went viral, titled "Black Friday Air Support." He told reporters it was worth it for the views and the chaos. 31. At a Best Buy in California, a teenager tried a virtual reality headset to preview deals. Inside the headset, he thought he was walking down a digital aisle, but in real life, he walked straight into a shelf full of monitors. Boxes tumbled down like dominoes, knocking a man's coffee into another customer's face. People screamed as screens crashed everywhere. The teen shouted that the virtual discount was higher. Security grabbed him while he kept swinging at invisible enemies. The store counted 3 broken displays and 2 bruised egos. The video title online became "Reality Hit Hard at Best Buy." 32. At a Kohl's in New York, a woman arrived carrying a calculator, a clipboard, and an abacus. When her calculator battery died, she shook it like a maraca and yelled for math justice. A man laughed at her, and she threw the abacus at him. Beads flew like ammunition. The two started arguing about arithmetic accuracy while stepping on the rolling beads and slipping around the floor. Security arrived to find both lying among scattered math tools. She shouted that she proved the discount was wrong. The internet named her the Black Friday mathematician. The abacus survived without a scratch. 33. At a Walmart in Florida, a man brought a telescope claiming he could spot better deals from afar. When he saw a shopper carrying the last PlayStation 5, he sprinted full speed while still peering through the lens. He tripped over a shopping basket and slid into the checkout counter. The other shopper tried to pull him up, but they both fell again, knocking over candy and gum stands. The man's telescope cracked in half, and he yelled that the universe was unfair. Police called it an astronomical misunderstanding. The clip trended online with the caption, "Stargazer hits ground level." 34. At a Target in Michigan, an elderly man brought a typewriter to file an official complaint while standing in line. When someone bumped him, he shouted that the paperwork was delicate and swung the typewriter like a briefcase. The heavy machine hit the corner of a cart, flipping it over. The other man threw a coffee cup in retaliation. The two traded shoves until an employee stepped in and caught a flying sheet of paper that read, "Sale Inequity." The crowd clapped as security dragged the writer away. His typewriter remained on display all weekend as a warning. 35. At a Best Buy in Illinois, a woman lit a small pile of incense in the parking lot, claiming she was signaling a discount emergency. Shoppers thought it was a joke until smoke drifted inside the store and set off an alarm. Employees ran out, tripping over carts, while the woman shouted that the spirits approved her purchase. A man nearby accused her of ruining his deal and tossed his receipt at her. She swung her purse, hitting him in the shoulder. Firefighters arrived to find no fire but plenty of chaos. The headline read, "Black Friday Smokescreen." 36. At a Walmart in Ohio, a teenager trained a carrier pigeon to deliver his discount request to the manager's office. The bird took off across the store, but another shopper tried to catch it thinking it was lost. They collided and fell into a pile of clothing. The pigeon circled back and pooped on the teenager's hoodie. The two shoppers got up and started arguing about whose fault the crash was. Security had to separate them while the bird landed on a shelf proudly. The story made national headlines as "The Pigeon Fight for Savings." 37. At a Kohl's in Texas, a man used a Ouija board on the floor asking spirits to guide him to the best deals. When the pointer spelled toaster, a woman overheard and sprinted toward the appliance section. The man followed, and they both reached the last box at once. They wrestled for control until the box ripped open, scattering pieces. The crowd cheered as the woman yelled that ghosts chose her. He screamed that spirits had no loyalty. Security dragged them both away while someone filmed the board still moving. The internet named it "Haunted Fight Over Kitchen Deals." 38. At a Walmart in Georgia, a woman with a small voodoo doll claimed it represented the store manager. When she stuck a pin in it, the real manager suddenly dropped his clipboard in shock, causing people to gasp. Thinking she had power, she demanded 50% off. Another shopper laughed and called her bluff, and she swung the doll at him. It bounced off harmlessly, but chaos erupted as others joined in, pretending to faint. The manager finally intervened, giving her a discount to end the scene. The video caption read, "Black Friday magic actually worked." 39. At a Best Buy in California, a man carried blueprints of a homemade time machine claiming he would return next Black Friday to fix this year's mistakes. When a security guard told him to move, he insisted he was protecting the timeline. Another shopper bumped him, and he swung his rolled-up papers like a sword. They exchanged pushes until the plans flew apart, scattering everywhere. Security dragged him out while he shouted that his future self would complain. Online commenters joked that he was just from last year. The video title became "Man Fights for Time and Discounts." 40. At a Target in Florida, a teenager brought an AI chatbot on his tablet to help him find the best deals. When another customer reached for the same speaker, he asked the AI what to do, and it responded, "Fight." He took it too seriously and shoved the man, who grabbed the tablet. They wrestled in the aisle, knocking over headphones. Security broke them apart, but the teen showed them the screen that said, "You initiated combat." The AI was confiscated as evidence. Social media exploded with memes calling it "when chatbot goes rogue." The teen blamed bad programming. 41. At a Walmart in Texas, two dads started wrestling over the last discounted hoverboard. One slipped on wrapping paper and tackled the other into a rack of bicycles. Helmets fell everywhere, and one dad grabbed one mid-fight and put it on for safety. Their kids cheered like it was a boxing match while moms filmed from the sidelines. Security tried to separate them but got pulled into the tangle of handlebars. The hoverboard rolled away by itself and crashed into a soda display. Police said it was the most protective brawl they'd ever seen. Online fans called it Dad Fight 3000. 42. At a Target in Nevada, two women argued over a hairdryer that came with a bonus brush. One accused the other of hiding extras, then snatched the box. The second woman lunged, and both fell into a mountain of towels. Employees tried to break it up, but one woman started swinging hair clips like throwing stars. A man recording yelled, "World War blowout." They stopped only when someone turned on a nearby fan, blowing the towels everywhere. Police arrived to find a blizzard of lint and pride. The news caption read, "When self-care turns self-defense." 43. At a Best Buy in Colorado, 3 college students fought over one discounted gaming chair. They each held a leg of the box while shouting claims of first sighting. One sneezed from stress, startling the others, and they all toppled backward into a display of routers. Wi-Fi boxes scattered across the floor like poker chips. One student yelled he had lag and punched the box again. Security dragged them out as the crowd chanted, "Update required." The chair broke during the fight and no one got it. Online viewers renamed it the LAN Party Throwdown. The store banned gaming metaphors. 44. At a Macy's in New Jersey, 2 elderly ladies began slapping each other with scarves after both grabbed the same purse. The crowd parted like it was a runway duel. One wrapped her scarf like a whip and spun dramatically, accidentally hitting a bystander who fainted from surprise. The purse flew into the air, and a teenager caught it, sprinting off with victory. The ladies joined forces to chase him until security stopped all 3. They were released after promising to behave. The video caption said, "Fashion Week meets Fight Club." Viewers called it the most elegant riot ever recorded. 45. At a Walmart in Arizona, a man brought a life-sized mannequin dressed like his twin so he could double his chances at checkout. When another shopper exposed the trick, he tried to defend his fake twin's honor. A full-on fistfight broke out near the food court. During the chaos, the mannequin's arm flew off, hitting a shelf of chips. People screamed as snacks rained down. The man shouted, "He's fragile," before tripping over his own creation. Police detained him while carrying the mannequin as evidence. The headline read, "Twin Trouble at Walmart." The dummy still got scanned at checkout. 46. At a Kohl's in Oregon, 2 co-workers accidentally met while shopping for the same office gift and pretended not to know each other. One grabbed the item first, and the other tried to pull it back, whispering insults. Their quiet argument turned into a tugging war that toppled an entire shelf of scented candles. Flames sparked from a candle lighter display, and people screamed while sprinklers activated. Both slipped on wax and fell flat. Firefighters found them laughing hysterically under dripping water. The manager said it smelled like vanilla chaos. The clip was labeled "Office Secret Santa Gone Wrong." 47. At a Target in Oklahoma, a man climbed a display tower to spot discounted sneakers. Another shopper yelled that it was unsafe and started shaking the tower to make him come down. Instead, both lost balance when the shoes rained down like rubber hail. They rolled on the floor trying to collect pairs that matched. Security arrived to find dozens of single shoes flying through the air. The man on the ground yelled that gravity was unfair. The store later banned all climbing. Online viewers called it Mount Sneakmore. The man proudly kept one unmatched shoe as a souvenir. 48. At a Best Buy in Washington, 2 women argued over a blender. One tried to test it using a nearby outlet, but the other pulled the cord away, yelling it was hers. They started shoving until the blender turned on mid-fight, splattering smoothie mix all over their faces. The crowd roared with laughter as one screamed about strawberry invasion. A security guard slipped on the spilled fruit and fell into them, creating a 3-person pile covered in pink. They stood up sticky, but undefeated. The viral clip title became Smoothie Showdown. The store banned in-aisle blending permanently. 49. At a Walmart in Ohio, two grandmothers fought over the last discounted television. One pushed her cart forward like a battering ram, while the other swung her purse filled with coupons. They crashed near the exit as the crowd cheered. The TV toppled onto both, and they kept yelling from under the box. Paramedics arrived to help them up, but they refused medical attention until the discount was honored. Later, both returned the next year at the same time and fought again. The photo caption read, "The rematch of the century." The internet called them Black Friday legends. And that's it. 49 of the most ridiculous, unbelievable, completely unhinged Black Friday fights ever caught on camera. From flying TVs to brawling grandmas, one thing's clear. America doesn't shop, it goes to war with discounts. Now tell me in the comments, what's the dumbest thing you've ever seen people fight over? The funniest story gets pinned right at the top. And before someone elbows you for it, smash that subscribe button and join the madness. Because next week, we're dropping another 49 that'll make these look calm.